Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So we have a stack of research on the desk today that is going to feel, well, a little uncomfortable maybe.
Uncomfortable how?
Usually we're looking forward, we're talking about AI, biotech, the next big shift in the global economy. We love the shiny new thing.
Right. The future.
But today we are doing a complete 180. We are looking backward to solve a problem that it is, and I'm not exaggerating, arguably the single biggest bottleneck in your life right now.
Okay, that is a massive claim to start with. The biggest bottleneck in my life. You don't know my life. My bottleneck is usually, I don't know, traffic. Or my Wi-Fi cutting out.
I'm willing to bet it's not. Yeah. I'm willing to bet it's the hardware you interact with every single day, the hardware that came with absolutely no user manual.
Other people.
Other people. Exactly.
Well, human element. The glitch in the system.
It is the system. Think about it. You might spend 4 years in college and maybe do a master's. You learn all these technical skills, engineering, coding, financial modeling, how to structure a sentence.
The hard skills.
Right. But nobody at any point in your formal education sits you down and hands you the technical documentation for the human operating system. And yet, if you actually look at the data, your success is almost entirely dependent on how well you interface with that system.
So we're looking for the manual. You think you found it?
We're looking at the book that Warren Buffett swears by.
Yeah.
The book that, for all intents and purposes, invented the entire genre of self-improvement.
Oh, no. I have a sinking feeling I know where this is going.
You do.
You're talking about Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I am.
Okay, hang on. I have to pump the brakes immediately. I need to register a formal protest right now.
I expected nothing less.
This book was published in, 1936? That is nearly a century ago. It's the book my grandfather had on his dusty shelf next to his encyclopedias. I've always viewed it as, well, a bit archaic.
Outdated.
And frankly, the title has always rubbed me the wrong way. How to Win Friends and Influence People sounds incredibly transactional. It sounds like a guide for a used car salesman trying to upsell you on rust proofing.
That is the #1 most common criticism. It sounds manipulative. It sounds like a handbook for sociopaths.
Yes.
Fake a smile, remember a person's name, and, brown nose your way to middle management.
Exactly. It feels insincere. And beyond that, the world has completely changed. Can we really take advice written during the Great Depression, before the internet, before Slack, before remote work, before influencer was an actual job title, and apply it to a world where our social interaction is so often digital and incredibly fast-paced?
That is the exact mission for this deep dive.
Right.
We are going to stress test this text.
Okay.
We are not going to treat it as scripture. We're going to treat it as a legacy code review. We want to see if the underlying algorithms of human behavior that Carnegie identified in 1936 still run on modern human hardware. Because my argument to you, and the reason I wanted to do this, is that while our technology has changed, our biology hasn't.
The hardware is the same.
The hardware is the same. The emotional processing centers of the brain, the amygdala, the limbic system, are identical to what they were in the Pleistocene, let alone the 1930s. We are still, at our core, tribal primates who want to be liked and hate to be wrong.
So the inputs have changed? We have email instead of telegrams?
But the processing, it's identical.
So you're saying the bugs in the software are the same?
The bugs, the glitches, and the exploits. We have gone through the original text, the case studies, the psychological theories, Carnegie references, and we have distilled this massive book down to 3 ancient laws.
Ancient laws. I like it.
For each one, we are going to look at the theory. We're going to look at a classic historical case study from the book itself. And then, this is the important part, we're going to apply it to a modern disaster scenario.
Give me an example. What kind of disaster?
The passive-aggressive email chain. The toxic boss who won't listen. The fight with your spouse about the dishes that somehow turned into a referendum on your entire personality.
Okay. All right. I'm willing to be convinced, but I'm going to be the check on this. If this starts sounding like just be nice and people will like you, I'm going to call it out.
Please do.
Because in the real world, especially the corporate world, nice often gets you eaten alive.
Deal. I want you to be the skeptic. So let's boot up the operating system. We need to start with the most counterintuitive principle in the entire book. Rule #1. I call it the boomerang of blame.
The boomerang of blame. It's catchy. What is the actual principle from the book?
Carnegie's first principle is don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
See, we are 30 seconds in and I already have a problem. A big one.
I figured.
Don't criticize. In a professional environment, that sounds like negligence. If I am a manager and my team member, I don't know, deletes the production database or ghosts a critical deadline, I have to criticize them. That's literally my job.
Of course.
If I just smile and say nothing, I'm not a leader, I'm a doormat. Accountability creates quality. You can't just good vibes your way to a product launch.
That is the logical, rational reaction. But let's unpack this for a second. Carnegie isn't arguing against accountability. That's the key distinction. He is arguing against the method of delivery.
Okay.
He suggests that the specific act of direct criticism of telling someone you are wrong is mechanically futile.
Yeah.
It just doesn't achieve the outcome you actually want.
Why wouldn't it? If I tell you you're wrong and I show you with evidence why you're wrong, you have the information to fix it. That's how debugging works.
That's how debugging code works. But humans are not code. You are assuming the other person is a creature of logic.
I mean, we try to be.
We try. But Carnegie, drawing on the work of psychologists like B.F. Skinner, points out that we are fundamentally creatures of emotion. Skinner did these famous experiments with animals, pigeons and rats primarily, showing that an animal rewarded for good behavior learns rapidly and retains the lesson.
Right, positive reinforcement.
But an animal punished for bad behavior learns slowly, forgets the lesson, and develops all these erratic side effects: anxiety, resentment.
Okay, but humans aren't lab rats. We have a prefrontal cortex. We can process negative feedback without having a complete meltdown, most of the time.
We can, but we usually don't. Think about the last time someone really genuinely criticized you. Not constructive feedback in a structured review, but someone just coming at you, hot, saying, "You messed this up." What is the immediate physical sensation?
Well, you get tense, your heart rate goes up, your face gets hot.
Exactly. You trigger an ego defense mechanism. It's almost a biological reflex, like pulling your hand away from a hot stove. The moment you say, "You messed this up," their brain stops listening to the logic of the error and immediately starts constructing a justification.
Yeah, you're building your defense case in your head.
They have to protect their self-image. It's not a choice. Carnegie calls criticism a homing pigeon.
A homing pigeon, because it comes back to you.
Exactly. It always returns. If you send out a harsh critique, it will circle back and hit you in the face. The person you criticize will eventually find a way to criticize you back,
Right.
or sabotage your project, or just harbor a resentment that kills their productivity and morale.
So it creates a debt of resentment that you have to pay back later.
And vicely.
Yeah.
And to prove this wasn't just some soft, abstract theory, Carnegie points to one of the hardest men in American history, Abraham Lincoln.
Lincoln, really, the malice toward none guy, the great emancipator. He seems like the poster child for not being critical.
That's how he ended up, but he did not start there. This is the part of the history books they usually skip. As a young man in Pigeon Creek Valley, Indiana, Lincoln was essentially a troll.
A troll. Abraham Lincoln was a troll.
A massive troll. He was arrogant, he was brilliant, and he knew it. He used to write these mocking letters and poems about people he didn't like, and he just dropped them on country roads where he knew they'd be found.
No way.
He loved humiliating people publicly. It was a sport for him.
So he was posting mean tweets before Twitter even existed. He was subtweeting the neighbors.
He was. And it almost got him killed. This is a true story that just blows my mind every time I read it. In 1842, Lincoln is a young, ambitious lawyer. He decides to ridicule a politician named James Shields.
Okay.
Shields was a bit vain, a bit pompous. So Lincoln writes an anonymous letter in a local newspaper just making fun of Shields. The whole town roared with laughter. But Shields was a very proud man. He was not laughing.
I'm guessing he sued him for libel?
Worse, he found out Lincoln wrote it, tracked him down on horseback, and challenged him to a duel to the death.
An actual duel. Pistols at dawn. You're kidding me.
It was supposed to be. But Lincoln, being the one who was challenged, had the right to choose the weapons.
Ah, a loophole.
Now, Lincoln was very tall and he had incredibly long arms. So he didn't choose pistols. He chose cavalry broadswords.
Broadswords, like Game of Thrones style. You are not serious.
Literally heavy cavalry swords. He thought it gave him a massive advantage because of his reach.
That's terrifying. To go from writing a mean letter to being on a riverbank with swords.
It gets more visceral. They met on a sandbar in the Mississippi River. The seconds are there. The doctor is there. Lincoln is standing there, swinging this massive sword, just chopping through willow branches to show Shields his reach and what he's about to do to him.
He's posturing.
They were moments away from hacking each other to death when the seconds finally intervened and managed to call it off. They negotiated a peace at the very last second.
But one hell of a wake-up call. The takeaway is don't roast people or you might get stabbed with a sword.
It literally changed his biochemistry. He realized that the momentary satisfaction of his wit, his criticism, had almost cost him his life. He resolved then and there to stop criticizing people. He learned that lesson the hard way.
Okay, so he learned fear. I get that. But did he learn leadership? Because avoiding a sword fight isn't the same as, leading an army through a war.
The ultimate test of this new discipline came decades later, during the Civil War. This is the case study that really drives the psychology home. It's the Battle of Gettysburg, July 1863.
The turning point of the war. Huge stakes.
Right. The stakes could not possibly be higher. Lee's army is defeated. They are retreating south. But then a massive storm hits. The rain is torrential. The Potomac River floods. Lee's army is trapped against the river. They can't cross. They're sitting ducks.
An incredible opportunity.
Lincoln realizes this is it. This is the end. If the Union Army attacks now, they capture Lee, and the war is over. Years of bloodshed, done.
So he orders the attack.
He telegraphs his General Meade, attack immediately. Do not call a council of war. I will take all responsibility. He sends messengers. He is pacing the White House, just waiting.
What did Meade do?
Meade hesitates. He calls a council of war the exact thing Lincoln told him not to do. He delays. He makes excuses about supply lines and tired troops. And while he dithers, the water recedes, Lee's engineers build a new bridge, and the entire Confederate army escapes across the river.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me.
The war drags on for 2 more years. Thousands more people die.
Okay, stop. If I'm Lincoln, I am firing Meade on the spot. I am court-martialing him. That is incompetence on a massive historic scale. That isn't just a mistake. That is defying a direct order from the commander-in-chief in the most critical moment of the war.
Lincoln was beyond furious. He cried to his son, Robert, "Great God, what does this mean? We had them within our grasp." So, in a white-hot rage, Lincoln sat down and wrote a letter to General Meade. And remember, Lincoln by this point was usually very restrained. But this letter was scathing.
Do we have the text? Do we know what it said?
We do. He wrote, "I do not believe you appreciate the magnitude of the misfortune involved in Lee's escape. Your golden opportunity is gone, and I'm distressed immeasurably because of it."
Wow, that is a career-ending letter coming from the president. It's basically saying you blew the war.
It is. It's a complete condemnation. So what happened when Meade opened it?
I assume he resigned? Or maybe he wrote back a defensive letter?
He never saw it. Lincoln never sent it. They found it in his papers after he died, sealed in an envelope, labeled to General Meade, never sent.
Wait, why wouldn't he send it? If ever there was a time for the boomerang to be justified, it's when a general extends a war by 2 years. I don't get it.
This is the key insight. This is the lesson he learned on that sandbar. Carnegie speculates on Lincoln's thought process. Lincoln probably sat there, cooled down, and said to himself, "Okay, I'm sitting here in the quiet of the White House. Meade is out there, surrounded by tens of thousands of dead bodies, the screams of the wounded, the blood and the mud. He's exhausted."
The context is everything.
Right. He thinks, if I send this letter, it will relieve my feelings. I will feel better for venting. But what will it do to Meade?
It would destroy him. It would crush him.
It would make him justify himself. He'd blame the weather. He'd blame his subordinates. He would turn into an enemy. He might resign in disgrace. And then who leaves the army? And more importantly, would it bring Lee's army back?
No. The moment has passed. The damage is done.
Exactly. The damage was done. Sharp criticism ends in futility. It changes nothing about the past, but it destroys the future relationship. Lincoln realized that keeping Meade as a functioning, loyal general was more important than venting his own spleen.
Sharp criticism ends in futility. That is a heavy concept to accept when you feel like you're so clearly right. It feels passive. Almost weak.
It's not passive, it's strategic. But okay, that's Lincoln saving the Union. That's a bit high level. Let's bring this down to the ground floor. Let's talk about the modern office. Because I deal with incompetence, but nobody's challenging me to a broadsword duel.
Let's do it. Case study number 2, the modern workplace. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Let's talk about the reply all rage.
Oh, I know this one well. Too well.
Okay, scenario. You're at work. You get an email from a colleague in another department. Let's call him Gary. Gary has completely misunderstood the project specs you sent over. He has sent an update to the VP, copying the entire team, and he has incorrectly blamed your department for a delay that was actually his fault.
I can feel my blood pressure spiking just hearing that scenario. The immediate impulse is to go full lawyer mode. You want to highlight his text, attach the previous emails with timestamps, prove the timeline, and hit reply all to humiliate him the way he just tried to humiliate you.
Actually, Gary, if you had read the attached PDF from last Tuesday.
Yes. You want to win the argument, and I would win the argument. I have the receipts.
You would win the argument, but you would lose the war. If you send that email, what happens to Gary?
He looks like an idiot in front of the VP. He's exposed.
And how does he feel about you for the rest of his career at that company?
He hates me. Forever.
Exactly. He will never help you again. He will look for any reason to throw you under the bus next month. You have created a permanent enemy for the momentary satisfaction of being right. And frankly, the VP doesn't want to see a catfight in their inbox. It just makes you both look petty.
So what's the Carnegie alternative? I can't just let him blame us for the delay. I can't have the VP thinking my team missed the deadline. That has real consequences.
No, you can't. But you use what I call the Lincoln draft.
The Lincoln draft.
You write the email, type it all out. Gary, you are completely wrong. Check the timestamp on the 14th. This is 100% your fault. Get all the poison out of your system. Carnegie says this is therapeutic.
Okay, that part I like.
But, and this is the absolute rule, do not put his email address in the to field. Save it as a draft.
Got it.
Then you get up, you walk away from the computer, go get a coffee, take a lap around the building, let the adrenaline fade.
And when I come back...
When you come back, your prefrontal cortex is back online. Now you pivot, you delete the draft, and you either pick up the phone or you walk over to his desk.
And say what? Hey, Gary, you're an idiot, but let's talk about it.
You say, hey, Gary, I saw the update. I think there might be a small mix-up on the timeline dates in that email. Can we just clarify that so the VP has the right info? You make it about helping the VP, not about blaming him.
Ugh. It hurts to be that polite when he was that wrong. It feels like letting him off the hook.
It hurts your ego. But look at the result. Gary immediately realizes he made a mistake. Because you didn't shame him publicly, he doesn't have to defend his ego. He could just say, oh, shoot, my bad. Let me send a correction right away. You saved his face. You turned a potential enemy into an ally. He now owes you one.
It's strategic empathy. You're not being nice because you're a saint. You're being nice because it's the most efficient way to fix the problem without breaking the entire machine of interdepartmental relationships.
Exactly. And this applies even more, and maybe more painfully, in the third area, our personal lives. Carnegie talks a lot about the domestic critic.
The person who nags their spouse or their kids.
It's tragic, really. We are often more polite to strangers and waiters than we are to our own families. We think that because we're close to someone, we have the right to constantly correct them. You always leave the lights on. Why can't you just remember to take out the trash? You're loading the dishwasher wrong.
Those absolute phrases, you always, you never, those are the homing pigeons. They guarantee a fight is coming.
Carnegie includes a very famous short story in the book called Father Forgets. It's a fictional piece written by a W. Livingston Larned, but Carnegie included it because it resonated so deeply with his readers. It's about a father who spends the entire day just criticizing his young son.
Give us the highlights. What's he doing?
The father is just constantly barking at him. Stand up straight. You didn't wash your hands. You're eating too fast. Stop shuffling your feet. He's just pecking away at the kid all day long.
I mean, that sounds like a typical Tuesday morning for a lot of tired parents, to be honest.
It does. But the story ends with the father creeping into the boy's room at night. The boy is asleep. And the father is suddenly overcome with this huge wave of remorse. He realizes he was measuring a child by the yardstick of a grown man.
Ooh, wow.
He was crushing the boy's spirit, not because the boy was bad, but because the father's own expectations were rigid and unrealistic. He was judging, not loving. He was treating his son like a project to be fixed.
That hits hard. So the takeaway isn't that we shouldn't have standards for our kids or our partners. It's that constantly vocalizing the failure to meet them is just destructive. It doesn't build them up.
Ben Franklin, another master diplomat mentioned in the book, put it this way: I will speak ill of no man and speak all the good I know of everybody.
That requires incredible discipline. It's so much easier to just vent and say, you're an idiot.
It is. It's the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
But remember the boomerang. If you throw it, be prepared to get hit.
All right, I see the logic. I'm still not 100% sold on the application, but I get the theory. Criticism triggers defense, not improvement. It's biologically expensive. Let's move to rule number 2. This is the one that I think makes people the most uncomfortable because it feels the most fake.
Rule number 2, the high-octane fuel of appreciation. Or, to quote the book directly, give honest and sincere appreciation.
Yeah, see, appreciation. In the corporate world, this often translates to the feedback sandwich, or worse. You know, say something nice, deliver the bad news, say something nice again. It feels like a technique. It feels slimy. Hey, great tie. By the way, you're fired. Have a great summer.
And Carnegie would completely agree with you. He is crystal clear on this. Flattery is garbage. He calls it counterfeit money. If you try to pass it, you will eventually get caught and arrested, metaphorically speaking.
So what is the difference between flattery and appreciation? Because on the surface, they can sound exactly the same. You're doing a great job can be both.
The difference is intent. Flattery is about you. It's selfish. You are saying something nice because you want something in return or you just want to be liked. Appreciation is about them. It is unselfish. You are noticing something true and specific and pointing it out with no agenda.
But why is this a law? Why is it so critical? I mean, people should do their jobs because they get paid, not because I have to pat them on the head all day.
Carnegie goes back to basic human psychology. We need food, we need sleep, we need safety. But there's one longing that is almost as deep and powerful as hunger, but is very rarely satisfied. The famous philosopher John Dewey called it the desire to be important. Freud called it the desire to be great.
The desire to be important, to matter.
Think about it. Why do we wear the latest fashion? Why do people drive cars they can't afford? Why do we post our vacations and achievements on Instagram? Why do gang members turf war over street corners? We are screaming to the world, I matter, look at me, my life has significance.
It's a fundamental human drive.
It's so powerful that Carnegie knows people actually go insane, clinically insane, in order to find, in the dreamland of insanity, the feeling of importance that was denied them in the harsh world of reality.
That's a dark thought. That we are so starved for validation that our minds can actually break from the lack of it.
It just shows the power of the hunger. And his point is this. If people are so hungry for this feeling that they will lose their minds for it, imagine the incredible power you hold in your hands if you can legitimately give it to them.
It's like offering water in a desert.
It's high-octane fuel. Most people are driving around with an empty tank. If you can fill it, they will drive to the ends of the earth for you.
Okay, that's the theory. But show me the money. Who is the masterclass in this? Who actually did this at scale?
Charles Schwab.
The steel magnate. Andrew Carnegie's right-hand man.
Yes. Now let's just look at the numbers for a second. In 1921, Charles Schwab was paid a salary of $1 million a year by Andrew Carnegie to run U.S. Steel.
Put that in context for me. $1 million in 1921. What is that today?
It's an almost meaningless number. It's so large.
Yeah.
But think of it this way. It was roughly $3,000 a day. In an era when a good wage for a factory worker was maybe $50 a week.
That is astronomical. So Schwab must have been the greatest metallurgist in history. He must have known more about the chemistry of steel than anyone alive.
Nope. Schwab told Carnegie personally that he had many men working for him who knew more about the actual manufacture of steel than he did.
So what was he getting paid for? Why give a guy $1 million if he doesn't know how to make the product better than his employees?
He said, and this is a direct quote, "I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people the greatest asset I possess."
Arousing enthusiasm. That's such a soft skill for such a hard industry like steel.
He explained his method.
Yeah.
"I never criticize anyone. I give a person incentive to work. If I like anything, I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise."
Hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise. It sounds a bit Victorian, but I like the energy of it. It's not weak praise.
He didn't just say, "good job." He was lavish. He made people feel like kings. He actually wrote his own epitaph, which sums up his entire philosophy.
Yeah.
"Here lies one who knew how to get around him, men who were cleverer than himself."
That's actually really profound. He didn't need to be the smartest guy in the room. He just needed to make the smart guys feel valued so they would give him their all.
Exactly. Now let's apply this to the modern world. Because most of our listeners are not running U.S. Steel. How do you use this without sounding like a phony cheerleader?
Right. If I walk around my office telling everyone you're amazing, you're a rock star, it loses its value by lunch. They're going to think I'm on medication or something.
The key is what I call appreciating the invisible work.
Invisible work? What's that?
In every company, on every team, there are people doing work that only gets noticed when it goes wrong.
Oh, yeah. The IT guy who keeps the server running.
The person who cleans up the messy data before the big meeting. The janitor. Carnegie tells a story about a woman named Pamela Dunham. She supervised a building, and there was a janitor who was doing a terrible job. The other employees jeered at him. They left litter in the halls just to mess with him. It was a toxic, dirty mess.
So, using rule #1, she shouldn't criticize him. But the halls are filthy. She has to do something. You can't just let the building rot into the ground.
Right. So she tried the opposite. She tried to catch him doing something right. She noticed one day that he had cleaned a small area, just one hallway, very, very well. She went out of her way to praise him for it. Specifically, in front of other people.
What did she say?
Something like, "This floor looks excellent today. You really got the scuff marks out from yesterday's delivery." It was specific.
She validated the one good thing he did.
And the result was transformative.
Yeah.
He started doing that one area perfectly every single time. Then he expanded it to the next hallway. The other employees stopped mocking him because he started taking pride in his work. His whole attitude changed because someone finally validated his existence. He wasn't just the lazy janitor anymore. He was a person who did a good job cleaning floors.
It's interesting. By treating him as if he were already a good worker, he became one. You're praising the behavior you want to see more of.
Exactly. So the challenge for you listening is find the janitor in your life. Not necessarily the literal janitor, but the person doing the thankless task.
Yeah.
Don't just send a one-word "fuck is" in Slack. Stop, walk to their desk, or write a specific 2-sentence email. "Hey, I noticed you organized that file structure on the shared drive. That made my life so much easier today. I really appreciate the attention to detail."
It takes 30 seconds, but the ROI, the return on investment on that, is huge. You've just bought yourself loyalty and goodwill for free.
And let's look at the social side. This is where we fail the most, I think. We treat service workers like vending machines.
It's purely transactional. I pay, you give me food. End of story.
Carnegie gives the example of a dinner guest. "If the filet mignon was excellent, don't just eat it and leave. Send word to the chef. Tell the waitress, 'Please tell the chef this was perfectly cooked. It made my night.'"
I can just imagine the chef back in that hot, sweaty, high-stress kitchen getting that message. It probably makes their whole shift. Usually they only hear when something is sent back because it's wrong.
It creates a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You leave what Carnegie calls little sparks of gratitude. And in the modern world, the most obvious application of this is the online review.
Oh, that's a good one. The Google review or the Yelp review?
We usually only write reviews when we're angry. 1 star. Food was cold. Ruined my birthday. But imagine the power of writing a 5-star review that names the employee who helped you. "Great service from Sarah at the front desk. She was so helpful."
I actually did this recently. I had an Uber driver who was just silent, which is exactly what I wanted that day. He drove perfectly, so I didn't just rate 5 stars. I took an extra 10 seconds and wrote a comment. "Best ride I've had in months. Smooth driving, perfect professional atmosphere."
And I bet that driver saw that and felt a moment of genuine pride. You fed his hunger for importance. You made him feel seen.
And honestly, it made me feel better too. It feels good to spot the good and point it out.
Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Every man I meet is my superior in some way. In that, I learn of him." If you walk into a room with that attitude, that everyone you meet has something they are proud of, some area of expertise, you will never have to fake appreciation. You'll just be observant.
Okay, so rule #1, don't judge the boomerang. Rule #2, feed the hunger, appreciation. Now we get to the heavy hitter. Rule number 3. This is about influence. This is about getting what you want. This feels like the core of the book.
Rule number 3, the fish and the worm, or, as the book puts it, arouse in the other person an eager want.
This is the sales and negotiation chapter, isn't it? This is the influence part of the title.
It touches on everything from parenting to management to sales. Carnegie uses this great simple fishing analogy. He says, "Personally, I am very fond of strawberries and cream.
Delicious. Can't argue with that.
But," he says, "I have found that for some strange reason, fish prefer worms. So when I go fishing, I do not bait the hook with strawberries and cream. I dangle a worm or a grasshopper in front of the fish and say, 'Wouldn't you like to have that?'"
It's a very simple metaphor, but his point is, why do we treat people differently than we treat fish?
Exactly. If I want you to do something, why on earth do I talk about what I want? I want you to sign this contract. I want you to clean your room. I need this report by 5. Carnegie says that is childish and absurd. Nobody cares what you want. They are interested in themselves. Morning, noon, and after dinner.
And this is the hardest mental shift to make, I think, because I'm intensely interested in what I want. If I have a deadline, that stress is real and immediate to me. I don't care about the other person's schedule at that moment. I care about my stress.
And that is exactly why you fail to influence them. Henry Ford, another titan of industry mentioned in the book, said, "If there's any one secret of success, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own."
Okay, give me the classic case study. Show me the master at work baiting the hook.
Let's go back to Andrew Carnegie, the Steel King himself. He was a master of this. The story goes he had 2 nephews who were students at Yale.
College kids. The epitome of self-interest.
Exactly. Busy, self-absorbed college kids. They got so involved in their own lives that they just stopped writing home. Their mother, Carnegie's sister-in-law, was frantic with worry. She wrote them these pleading letters. Please write to your mother. Are you okay? Nothing.
They were left on read in the 19th century version, ghosted by their own kids.
Exactly. So Andrew Carnegie steps in. He bets a relative $100, let's say it was a casual bet, that he can get an answer by return mail without even asking for one.
How? By threatening to cut off their tuition. Because that would work.
No. That's the criticism method. That's talking about what he wants. Instead, he wrote them a chatty, breezy letter, just catching up. How is Yale? How is the football team? Weather here is great. Just a normal letter. And then in the postscript, he casually mentioned that he was enclosing a $5 bill for each of them to enjoy a night out.
A nice gift. $5 was decent money back then.
But he forgot to actually enclose the money.
Oh, that is brilliant. That is so clever.
He mailed the letter with no money in it.
And let me guess the result.
An immediate reply. Dear Uncle Andrew, so great to hear from you. By the way, you seem to have forgotten to include the $5.
He didn't preach about their duty to their mother. He didn't say you should write home more. He triggered their self-interest. He baited the hook with the worm, the missing money.
He aroused an eager want. He made them want to write back because they wanted the cash.
Okay, that's a funny story, but it's a bit of a trick. How do we use this honestly in the modern workplace? Let's talk about the dreaded cold email or the job application.
This is the #1 mistake people make today. I see emails all the time that say, essentially, hi, I'm Alex. I want a job at your company because I need experience. I am really passionate and I want to learn. Please give me a chance.
Me. All strawberries and cream.
Exactly. The hiring manager does not care about your need for experience. They have a problem. They have a messy database, or they need more sales, or they need to cut costs. They have a pain point.
So the worm approach would be what?
The worm approach is, hi, I see you're expanding into the European market. That usually creates logistics headaches regarding GDPR compliance. I have spent the last 3 years solving exactly that type of logistics headache for a similar company. Here's how I can save you time and potential legal fees.
You're not talking about yourself at all. You're talking about their problem and how you are the solution to it.
Carnegie gives an example of a man applying to a bank. Instead of saying, I want a job, the applicant analyzed the bank's recent activities and offered a specific service he could provide to help them with a new initiative. He baited the hook with what they needed.
It's the difference between begging for a favor and offering tangible value.
There's another great little anecdote in the book about Charles Schwab again. It's short, but it's perfect. He was walking through his steel mill and saw some of his employees smoking.
Inside the mill, that sounds incredibly dangerous, with sparks and explosive gases.
Very dangerous. And right above their heads was a huge sign that said, no smoking.
Okay, so the criticism instinct, and frankly the safety officer instinct, would be to point at the sign and yell, can't you people read, put those out now?
Right. But Schwab didn't do that. That's negative reinforcement, and it just breeds resentment. Instead, he walked over, reached into his own pocket, handed each of the men a cigar, and said, I'd appreciate it, boys, if you will smoke these on the outside.
Wow, think about the layers that's next level.
He acknowledged their desire. They wanted to smoke. He gave them a reward, a better quality cigar, but he attached a condition to that reward, do it outside. That solved his problem, which was safety. He made them want to go outside.
And they probably felt great about him. The boss just gave us free cigars. They would follow him anywhere after that.
That is influence, not authority, influence.
Let's do the final social pace study. If getting kids to do things they don't want to do is basically the ultimate test of negotiation. Kids are the toughest negotiators in the world.
They really are. Carnegie tells the story of a little boy named Tim. Tim refused to go to kindergarten. He was screaming, crying, throwing a full-blown tantrum on the first day.
The standard, I don't want to leave the house, meltdown. I think every parent knows that one.
The father started to use his parent voice. You know, you have to go. It's good for you. You'll learn things. Don't be a baby.
Yeah.
But then he stopped himself. He remembered the principle. He thought, if I were Tim, why would I want to go to kindergarten? He had to see it from the kid's point of view.
So he had to find the worm. What does a little kid like?
Finger painting, playing with friends, building with blocks. So the father and mother sat down in the living room and they started playing kindergarten. They were finger painting on the floor, laughing, having an absolute blast.
Without Tim. They did it without him.
Without Tim. They completely ignored him. Tim looks over from the corner and sees them having all this fun. The FOMO, the fear of missing out, kicks in. He comes over and says, "I want to paint." And the father says, "Oh, no, you can't. You have to go to kindergarten to learn how to paint like this."
Laughs. He reverse psychologized him. That is genius.
By the next morning, the story goes, Tim was asleep in the living room chair because he woke up so early to make sure he didn't miss kindergarten.
They framed it as a privilege, not a duty. They aroused the want.
It applies to everything.
Yeah.
If you want your child to stop smoking, don't preach about lung cancer or long-term health stats they can't visualize. Show them how it will stop them from making the basketball team because they'll be out of breath. Link it to their immediate goals and desires.
This really requires you to step out of your own ego in every situation. You have to stop thinking about your own headache, your own deadline, your own desire, and start thinking about what makes the other person tick.
And that really brings us to the big picture here.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. We have 3 rules. 1, the boomerang of blame. Don't criticize. 2, the high-octane fuel. Give sincere appreciation. 3, the fish and the worm. Arouse an eager want.
It sounds so simple on paper. But Carnegie says that knowledge isn't power until it is applied. And applying this is incredibly hard because it goes against our natural emotional wiring. It is easier to criticize. It is easier to talk about ourselves. It's our default setting.
So how do we actually do this? Because old habits die hard. I am going to want to criticize Gary next time he messes up the email. I am going to forget to praise the IT guy for the server being up.
Carnegie suggests the game. It's a bit silly, but it works. He calls it the dollar game. He told his students to offer their spouse or a colleague $1, maybe $10 in today's money every time they catch you violating one of these principles.
Yeah, that's dangerous. My wife would be rich by Friday.
Hey, you just criticized the neighbor. Give me $10. Hey, you just talked about yourself for 5 minutes instead of asking about my day. Give me $10.
It gamifies the awareness. It creates a financial penalty that makes you pause before you speak.
Exactly, because this is a skill. And this is the final crucial point. Carnegie makes a profound observation near the beginning of the book. He cites research from the Carnegie Institute of Technology that says about 15% of one's financial success is due to one's technical knowledge.
So engineering, accounting, coding, the hard skills you learn in school.
15%. The other 85% is due to what he calls human engineering, your personality and your ability to lead people.
85%. That is a staggering number. And yet, look at our education system. We spend 99% of our time and money teaching the 15%.
We spend so much time optimizing our technical stack. We take courses, we get certifications, we learn new software, but we leave the 85%, the human stack, to chance. We assume I am who I am, I'm just a grumpy person, or I'm just not good with people.
We treat personality like it's hardware fixed from the factory. Carnegie treats it like software. It's updatable.
Exactly. It's an operating system. You can patch it, you can upgrade it, you can debug it. But you have to read the manual first.
So the final challenge for the listener is to treat their social interactions not as random emotional events, but as engineering problems.
Yeah. Study the input you're getting. Adjust your output based on these principles.
Yeah.
And check the result. Does it work better?
And maybe, just maybe, don't send that angry email.
Write the draft, but don't send it.
Go fish with the right bait.
Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.